You know, everyone's always going on about how hackers are using AI now, but get this, the good guys are using it too. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into how AI is being used in cybersecurity. Specifically, we're looking at an excerpt from AI in Cybersecurity, Enhancing Protection and Threat Detection. So, what do you think? What's the most interesting thing about this whole AI cybersecurity thing?
Well, I think what's really fascinating is how AI is changing the game for both the attackers and defenders. It's like a whole new arms race out there.
Yeah, definitely. So, first up, I want to talk about AI as the defender. This excerpt talks about anomaly detection, which sounds pretty awesome. What exactly does that mean, and how does that work in cybersecurity?
Well, imagine a security camera, but instead of just recording footage, it can actually analyze it in real time. And it can spot any suspicious activity. That's basically what AI-powered anomaly detection does.
Oh, okay. So it's not just looking for stuff that we already know is bad. It's like spotting things that just seem off.
Exactly. Like, let's say someone at a company usually logs in from their office network between 9 and 5, but suddenly there's a login attempt from a different country at 3 in the morning. An AI system can flag that as an anomaly, and that could potentially stop a hacker.
Whoa, that's impressive. So it's like having this super powered security guard that never sleeps, and it can spot the smallest details that a human might miss.
And it's not just about logins. AI can analyze huge amounts of data from different places, like network traffic and user behavior, even system logs. And all of this is to identify patterns that could point to a threat.
So it's not just reacting to stuff that's already happened. It's about predicting potential attacks before they even happen.
Yeah, this excerpt talks about how AI can forecast phishing campaigns, which is a great example of that predictive power. You know how phishing works. By analyzing data from past phishing attacks, AI can identify the warning signs that can help predict future campaigns.
So it's like, let's say you get an email and it seems a bit suspicious. The AI has already seen millions of similar emails, and it knows the little signs that could mean it's a scam, and it can warn you before you even click on a link.
Right, it's like having a digital bodyguard that's always watching your inbox for threats. And that predictive power can be used for all sorts of cyber attacks, not just phishing.
So we've got AI detecting anomalies, predicting attacks. What else? This excerpt mentions something called incident response. What is that?
Well, even with the best defenses, sometimes breaches do happen. Incident response is all about how fast and how well you can react to a security incident. And AI is changing the game here, too.
Okay, so instead of like a whole team of people trying to figure out what happened and then how to fix it, we can have AI jump in and take charge.
You could say that. AI can automate a lot of the tasks involved in incident response, like figuring out the source of the attack, isolating infected systems, even patching up vulnerabilities. And all of that speed and efficiency can be super important when you're trying to minimize damage.
I see. So it can stop a small breach from becoming a huge disaster?
Exactly.
Wow, that's incredible. It seems like AI was really good at speeding things up when it comes to dealing with an attack.
It definitely is.
So this excerpt also mentions AI can help reduce false positives.
Oh, yeah,
I
definitely.
think we've all been there. I get a ton of security alerts, but they all turn out to be nothing.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the biggest problems in cybersecurity. You see, traditional security systems rely on these fixed rules, and sometimes those rules are just a little too eager to flag anything that looks even a tiny bit suspicious.
Like when your bank sends you a fraud alert just because you bought a coffee in a different town.
Exactly. But AI is different. It can learn to tell the difference between real threats and harmless anomalies. It can look at all sorts of factors like the user's behavior, the time of day, the device they're using, and then it can make a better decision.
So instead of just blindly following the rules, it can actually learn and adapt over time, and that makes it more accurate.
Exactly. It's like having a security guard, one who actually gets to know your routine and can tell the difference between you coming home late one night and an intruder trying to break in.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you mentioned earlier how AI can be a double-edged sword.
Right.
So if attackers can use AI too, doesn't that create a whole new set of problems?
It definitely makes things more complicated. The excerpt talks about how attackers are using AI to develop more advanced malware and to create these highly targeted phishing attacks. They can even automate the process of finding and exploiting vulnerabilities.
So it really is like an arms race, both sides trying to outsmart each other with AI.
Yeah, it's a constant back and forth. For example, attackers can use AI to create adversarial examples, basically. They can manipulate data to trick an AI system into misclassifying it.
Oh, wow. Can you give me an example of that? Like, how would that work in a real attack?
Okay, so imagine an attacker wants to get past an AI-powered spam filter. They can use AI to make small changes to a spam email, like changing the wording or the formatting, so it looks like a normal email to the AI, but it can still deliver its harmful stuff to the person who receives it.
So even with AI protecting us, we're still vulnerable to these new tactics.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to understand the risks. We can't just assume that AI is going to solve all of our problems.
So what can we do? How do we stay ahead of the game in this whole AI cybersecurity world?
Well, the excerpt mentioned something called AI-driven penetration testing, which is a pretty interesting application of AI in cybersecurity.
I've heard of penetration testing, but what does it mean for it to be AI driven?
Penetration testing is basically like ethical hacking. It's where you test your defenses by simulating real attacks. With AI, this whole process can be automated and made much more efficient.
So it's like having an AI hacker on your side, trying to find weaknesses before the bad guys do.
Exactly. The AI can analyze code, scan for vulnerabilities, and even try to exploit them, and it all happens in a safe environment. This helps organizations find and fix security flaws before they can be exploited for real.
That's really smart. Are there other ways we can use AI to improve our defenses?
Definitely. The excerpt also talks about something called AI-powered endpoint protection. This is all about securing individual devices, like laptops, smartphones, servers, protecting them from attacks.
So like having an AI bodyguard for each device on the network.
Yeah, AI can keep an eye on device activity, detect malware, even block bad websites. And you can do all this in real time, and without relying on signatures or definitions, which means it can catch brand new threats that no one has ever seen before.
That's amazing. But if AI is analyzing all this activity on our devices, does that mean we're giving up our privacy?
That's a good question, and it's something we should think about as AI becomes a bigger part of our security systems. The important thing is to make sure that these AI systems are designed with privacy in mind, with safeguards to protect sensitive data.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it and how we manage it.
Exactly. We need to think about the ethics of using AI in cybersecurity and make sure that we're not sacrificing privacy or security just to get better protection.
It sounds like AI is already a major player in cybersecurity, and its role is only going to get bigger in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
This excerpt also talks about something called behavior-based analysis. What's that all about?
This is another interesting way AI is being used. Behavior-based analysis is all about understanding how users normally behave and then flagging anything that's different from that.
So instead of looking for specific attacks, it's more about looking for unusual patterns of activity.
Exactly. For example, let's say an employee suddenly starts accessing files they've never pushed before, or they start sending large amounts of data outside the company network. An AI system using behavior-based analysis could pick that up as unusual, and then it would trigger an alert.
That's a great example. It's like having an AI detective who's always watching for suspicious behavior. But doesn't this raise some concerns about privacy? I mean, if AI is monitoring everything we do, doesn't that feel a little creepy?
It's definitely something to think about. We need to be open and honest about the balance between security and privacy in this new age of AI.
So it's not just about using AI for security, it's about thinking carefully about how we use it and what the consequences might be.
Exactly. We have to be careful not to create a surveillance state in the name of security.
You've definitely given me a lot to think about. It seems like AI is this amazing tool. It can make us safer, but it could also threaten our privacy.
It's a complicated situation, and there aren't any easy answers. But the more we understand about AI and how it affects cybersecurity, the better prepared we'll be to deal with these challenges.
I think that's a great point to end on, this deep dive into AI and cybersecurity. Enhancing protection and threat detection has been really insightful. It's clear that AI is a game changer, but it's not a cure-all. We need to be aware of the challenges and the risks and the ethical questions. But if we use AI the right way, it can help us create a safer and more secure online world.
I agree.
Well, that's it for part one of our deep dive. Join us next time as we continue exploring this fascinating topic. We'll delve deeper into the specific ways AI is being used to defend against cyber attacks. And we'll talk about what the future holds for this rapidly evolving field. Until then, stay curious and stay safe online.
See you next time.
So it sounds like AI can really speed things up when it comes to dealing with an attack, but this excerpt also mentions that AI can help reduce false positives, like getting a ton of security alerts that turn out to be nothing. I think we've all been there.
Oh, absolutely. That's a major pain point in cybersecurity. Traditional security systems often rely on these fixed rules, and they could be a bit too quick to flag anything that looks even slightly suspicious.
Right, like when you get a fraud alert just because you bought a coffee in a different city.
Exactly. But AI is different. It can learn to tell the difference between real threats and harmless anomalies.
Oh, okay.
It can analyze a wider range of factors, like the user's typical behavior, the time of day, the device they're using, all to make a more informed judgment.
So instead of just blindly following a set of rules, AI can actually learn and adapt over time and become more accurate at identifying real threats.
That's the key advantage. It's like having a security guard who gets to know your routine and can tell the difference between you coming home late and an intruder trying to break in.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But earlier you mentioned that AI can be a double-edged sword. So if attackers can use AI too, doesn't that just create a whole new set of problems?
It definitely adds another layer of complexity. The excerpt highlights how attackers are starting to use AI to develop more sophisticated malware, craft highly targeted phishing attacks, and even automate the process of finding and exploiting vulnerabilities.
Oh, wow. So it's like a constant arms race with both sides trying to outsmart each other with increasingly advanced AI techniques.
That's one way to look at it. For example, attackers can use AI to create adversarial examples.
Adversarial examples.
Essentially, they can manipulate data in a way that tricks an AI system into misclassifying it.
Hold on. Can you give me an example of that? How would that actually work in a real-world attack?
Sure, imagine an attacker wants to bypass an AI-powered spam filter. They could use AI to subtly alter the wording or formatting of a spam email, making it look like a legitimate message to the AI, but still delivering its malicious payload to the human recipient.
Oh, so it's like disguising the attack.
Exactly.
So even with AI on our side, we're still vulnerable to these evolving tactics.
Yes, and that's why it's crucial to be aware of the potential risks. We can't just assume that AI is a silver bullet solution.
So what can we do?